Hey, what's going on everyone, and I hope you're having a great day, and welcome back to another video, and thank you for tuning in. Today we have my review for X-Men Dark Phoenix, the final Fox X-Men film, but maybe not the final X-Men film with these characters. We will see. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So, and with that said, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen the film and you want to, go and watch it beforehand. And let's get into this. So the final X-Men movie, which is a big shame because this created some of my favourite comic book characters of all time. In particular Wolverine. He was my favourite comic book character. Well, not my favourite comic book character, my favourite comic book film hero, if that makes sense. Hugh Jackman really brought him to life for me, and so did the writing. And Logan, one of my favourite films of all time. And the franchise that birthed him ended on a real shitter.
I don't know what to do!
I mean, I can't believe some of these characters ended. I can't believe the franchise ended with this fucking movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has some redeeming qualities, which I will get into, of course, but I want to start off by talking about Sophie Turner, because I watched the special features, obviously, as I do with a lot of films, and she seemed like she gave it her all. She seemed like she was really nervous, and she seemed like she had a great time with set and everything. And I think she was in Game of Thrones. I've never seen that, so I'm not sure. But I'd only really seen her in Apocalypse, which was a small role. And from my knowledge, I think this is her first lead role. And she does a great job. She actually nails Jean Grey. She really nails a young version of the one we see in the original trilogy. And like I say, thankfully she does a really good job. One of the good performances in this movie. Also Michael Fassbender as Magneto or Eric. He's great in all of these films. But yeah, Sophie Turner, not that I was expecting her to be awful. This is my second time watching this film. I watched it once and haven't watched it since, but wanted to make a review. And yeah, Sophie Turner is a real bright spot in this film, I have to say. But the reason I mention this is not just to praise Sophie Turner, it's because weirdly, the rest of the performances aren't too great in my opinion. And like I say, I'm not trying to go against any of the actors. I think they're incredibly talented to get where they are, and I'm like I say, I'm just criticizing their product, and I need to say this when I'm negatively talking about a film. But they just don't, even like James McAvoy, who is one of my favourite actors, he's not great in this film for me, which is weird, and I can only presume it was the direction, as it was Simon Kinberg's first film as a director. Now before we get into the meat of the review, I'd like to clarify that I'm really not trying to hate on anyone as a person. I always respect everyone who works on a film. It's a massive task, and I mean, hopefully one day I understand the difficulties, because that's what I want to do, obviously, but at this point in my life I physically cannot understand, because I've never done it, and I wouldn't hate on the people as people, because that's just toxic and unnecessary. There's literally no reason for it, and I have the utmost respect for it, despite it not being a great film in my opinion, despite me not enjoying it too much. Even the worst films I've seen, I can still respect the artists, at least, and I ask that you understand that, and don't take my jokes and opinions as more than what they are, which are just jokes and opinions. So with that said, let's properly begin. So the timeline was getting messy in Apocalypse anyway. You know, I think that was set in 85. And now it's thrown out the window entirely. We're in 1992, and the first X-Men movie takes place in 2000, I believe. So in 8 years, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender turn into Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. Sure. Also, they have the knowledge of aliens in this film, just thrown in there. Aliens, they do exist, yes, because why not? And also gets called the Jean Grey School at the end, for some reason, which isn't the case in the original trilogy. This film just ruins the continuity at all. I mean, just overall, and I don't like. It was established at the end of Days of Future Past what was still there after the prequels, and we saw Jean. Oh, I forgot to mention, Jean dies. Whatever, it's already screwed. Let's just kill her off, because why not? And as I just mentioned, the aliens, so suddenly out of nowhere we're dealing with aliens, and this alien wavy storm thing entered Jean and is the reason why she's the Phoenix. I mean, okay, sure, yeah, whatever. And these aliens are trying to take this Phoenix Force from Jean for reasons, and they're so obviously meant to be Skrulls. I'm pretty sure because of Captain Marvel they weren't allowed to use the Skrulls, and the production was kind of affected by that, but still, it's so obvious, and they're not compelling villains. They feel forced. This whole film feels forced and rushed as all hell. Charles is horrible. Charles is an absolutely unlikable character in this film. Now I understand why he's happy about people not hating mutants. That is entirely understandable. But the reason for his ego and willing to risk his team's life, like young people, is completely unlike him. He is so unlikable and so unbearable for no apparent reason. They tried to justify it through his ego, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe that's just me, but yeah. And realistically, this film is Charles's fault. The look of the aliens are done. The CGI for them sucks. There's some really good effects in this film, but the aliens are not one of them. And you know, the big purple thing, the purple cartoon cloud, is really ugly as well. I don't know why they went with that. The pacing is absolutely everywhere. The film is just lost in itself. Jean and Scott's relationship is not developed nearly enough throughout Apocalypse for me to give a shit in this movie. Peter is just ruled out of the film because of an injury and not mentioned of again. We see him at the end, but we don't know if he's vitally injured. We don't know what happened to him. There's a scene with Jean and Scott where it's so obvious that we're supposed to care about the relationship, because he's saying, oh no, I don't want you to come with me because if I lose control I'll hurt you. But she's going to see her dad, who she hasn't seen since she was a little girl. Is she not worried about hurting her dad? Like, I don't, what? This entire film, as I said, just feels rushed and forced massively. If you go and watch the first trailer, you can see a massive difference in the trailer to the product that we actually got. I don't think if it was left as it originally intended, it would have been a great film, honestly. But you can still see that somewhat. I think the Disney takeover did affect it, because there is potential here. The action sequences are great. They have great effects for the most part, and really well directed, actually. And they're a lot of fun. They use a lot of practical sets and stunts, which the MCU do not actually do, and which I wish they would use more of. And it's really fun. It was a really ballsy move for them to kill Raven in this film, and I respected it, even though it was incredibly predictable through the trailers. But it did make me feel like anyone could get it. Sadly though, while it gets a bit of an emotional response, it doesn't seem to fit in the film like most good stuff in this film. Jean's story is actually solid. Jean is my favourite character in this movie, and Eric is probably on par. Eric is the one consistent great thing about these past few, about the prequel trilogy, prequel 4 movies. I liked the divide caused because of Raven's death. I really thought that was cool. I like the Civil War kind of idea. I don't know, man. We got an all-star cast, and I can only imagine that it was Simon Kinberg's directorial debut that affected this, and as well as the Disney takeover. It's just a real shame. Like I said, the action is great, but that's not good enough for a film. The story is so incredibly forced and rushed, and just on the whole not good. I prefer Last Stand to this film. They're pretty similar on the scale of what I think is better, but I think I'd rather watch Last Stand. This movie sucks, with a few redeeming qualities, and hopefully this isn't the end of the cast, and I have my hopes. If you don't want to see this clip, skip to this time point.
Long lost bro, get to squeeze his stinking sister to death or what?
But sadly, this film, it sucks, and I do not have the power to give it anything above this. I was debating giving it half a score higher, but I just can't. Because this later portion of the film is better, but it's not. It's just action, so it doesn't. No, it's just nah. Sadly, I'll give Dark Phoenix a 2.5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of Dark Phoenix in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please let me know when we can have a friendly discussion. Yeah, like I say, it's a shame, but what can you do? And like I say, I'm not trying to be toxic or hating towards any of the people. They probably did a better job than I ever could on a movie, and I entirely respect them for doing their jobs and doing what they can. By all means, of course. Please, like I say, don't take my jokes for anything more than what they are, or my opinions. They are just my opinions and my jokes. I'm not insulting them as people. I really respect them massively. But as I say, thank you guys for watching, and with that said, I will see you in the next one. Take care.